I fell asleep before the Thunder and Warriors game ended. I woke up middle of the night to see this. Los Angeles Clippers are sending home future Hall of Fame point guard Chris Paul in a bizarre severing ties move. If you guys are not aware, Chris Paul is on a farewell tour. This is his final season in the NBA, and he wants to retire with the team that he had the most success with as an individual player and basically in his prime as a player. A lot of people love his Clipper days, and just for them to sever ties like this feels so Clippers-like. Because if you guys are not aware, and you guys don't remember what happened just about 6 years ago-ish, 6 maybe 7 years ago, with the whole Blake Griffin thing, when he signed the extension, and right after he signed the extension, less than a year later, they traded him to the Pistons. And now, hold on, let me move my cam so you guys can see it. Let's go here real quick. But now, Chris Paul is no longer part of the Clippers organization, and they're sending him home. What does that mean? What does sending him home mean? My bad. What does sending him home mean? So is he just getting waived? They're waiving Chris Paul in the middle of his farewell tour in the middle of the night, but it gets worse. Right? Where is the... Boom. Chris Paul and his leadership clash with the Clippers, sources tell ESPN. Paul has been vocal in holding management, coaches, and players accountable, which the team felt being disruptive. Specifically, Ty Lue was not on speaking terms with Paul for several weeks. So Ty Lue, because Chris Paul was doing what he was brought there to do. Chris Paul was always known as a leader. Chris Paul was always known to be a winner. So he's going to put everyone in place to win the best way possible. Because Ty Lue didn't like being held accountable. Because Ty Lue has this big ass ego back since 2016. We're 9 years removed from when Ty Lue has done anything significant in the NBA. It's been 9 fucking years. And he has done nothing significant as an NBA coach. 9 years. So LeBron James carried his legacy. 9 years of him getting contracts. 9 years of his reputation being on the line. And because he doesn't have a LeBron James to carry him to wins, to carry him and his fucking fragile ass ego to 3 straight NBA finals, now being a little bitch because a player of Chris Paul's caliber is holding him accountable. He has been held accountable in his whole Clipper stint. Ty Lue has been a bad coach with the Los Angeles Clippers from the very start, and it all goes back to him. And whether you guys say, oh, but his players aren't playing. Okay, but does that mean you go out of your way to sit here and bash your players repeatedly? Because just a couple weeks ago, he went, and not verbatim, but this quote said, I understand, next man up, but what are you going to do when your best players are making 60 million and the next man up is making 400K? Why are you throwing your team under the bus to sit here and say, oh, but my stars are out, so now Cam Christie can't hoop. Cam Christie's a bum. That's basically what you're saying. You're saying if your name is not James Harden or Kawhi Leonard, you're a bum. I don't want you. I don't believe in you. As a coach, you're held responsible. And because you didn't have the pride and the decency to look at this Hall of Famer in the eye and tell him what is wrong, that's on you. You are the problem. Oh yeah, hold up. Found it. Blake Griffin wants to retire a Clipper. 7 months after signing a 5-year, $171 million deal to stay in LA, the Clippers traded him to Detroit. Chris Paul wants to retire a Clipper. 5 months later, after coming home, the Clippers released him in the middle of the night. This will forever and always will be a poverty franchise. I don't want to hear a single fucking person even dare, and I mean even dare, think about justifying what the fuck the Clippers have done to Chris Paul and his legacy. This team repeatedly have been the face of not letting their superstars be superstars. They've been the face of being fucking traitors. Everyone knows this about the Los Angeles Clippers. There is nothing good about becoming a Los Angeles Clipper. There will always be the fucking little brothers. To do this to a player who had Chris Paul's caliber, who put the fucking Clippers on the map. The Lob City Clippers were fucking electric because of Christopher Emmanuel Paul. And to sit here, to release him in the middle of the night because he was doing what he was brought here to do is fucking ridiculous. Wanna know what's even sadder? Wanna know what's even fucking sadder? This is what's sadder. Chris Paul, who was just tweeted out, just found out I'm being sent home. This is heartbreaking. Dude, this is fucking heartbreaking. This is an NBA Hall of Famer. What does being sent home mean? Is he just gonna retire flat out without having his tour? Because he deserves one. This is NBA Hall of Fame, one of the greatest point guards ever seen, one of the greatest facilitator and playmakers ever seen. The definition of a winner, even though he doesn't have a fucking ring. Do you know how unbelievable this is? Any team he's with has changed the culture of the team. And last year, with the Spurs and Wemby, De'Aaron Fox get injured, they were playing to playoff contention. But you want to send him home because he's holding your team accountable? Let me remind y'all what the Clippers are at right now. Hold up. Let me remind y'all about where the Clippers are standing right now. Let me fucking remind y'all real quick. Because I think people forget. The Los Angeles Clippers are currently, they are 5-16. 5-16. They are the 14th worst team in the Western Conference. They are the second to worst team in the Western Conference. And mind you, this is a team that doesn't want to be held accountable. This is a team that just released Chris Paul because he's holding the players accountable because they are better talent than a 5-16 team. There's still James Harden. There's still Zubac. Kawhi Leonard are still your big three from last year. Nothing has changed with that. All you guys have done is added some role players. How the fuck does they go from a 5 seed last year to 5-16? I wonder. No Norman Powell, changing John Collins. But John Collins has been ass. Ty Lue's been even worse at using John Collins. So who do we blame? The vet point guard who's been in the league for 20 years, who barely plays any games, barely gets any minutes. His leadership is why we're losing. His fucking leadership. Unbelievable. Hold up. There's one more thing I want to talk about this whole report. Where is it? Where the fuck? There's one more report. Boom, this one. Found it. Source: weeks ago, Chris Paul requested to have a meeting with Tyronn Lue to discuss allegations of being a negative presence on the team. Lue refused to meet with him. Lawrence Frank traveled to Atlanta to deliver news of parting ways. Paul desired final season to be with the Clippers. Basically, Chris Paul, wanted to clear the air. He didn't want there to be any negative connotations around him and Tyronn Lue. He wanted to move forward with all the beef they've had for basically the entire season. But what does Ty Lue do? Be the little bitch that he is. He refused to meet with Chris Paul. Ty Lue has to have been fired. For fucking years ago, he should have been fired. After 6 years of having Kawhi Leonard on your team, you have one conference finals to your name. One conference finals and one blown 3-1 lead. That's what you have to your name, Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. That's all you have to your name. And now you have a 35-year-old James Harden who's sitting there carrying a team on a night-in, night-out basis. Because you're like, please, Harden, I know you're not LeBron. But save us, please. That's what you guys have come to. This is your sad, pathetic, and fucking failure of a franchise. Chris Paul deserves better, and whether or not he ends up retiring after this, doesn't play for another team, or he goes to a different team, I wish him the best. Because I am praying he goes to a team like Oklahoma City, OKC. I am praying he goes to OKC, because if y'all don't remember, Chris Paul's one season in OKC after trade away Russell Westbrook, trade away Paul George. He took a very young team and a second year Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to the fucking playoffs. When they had a less than 1% chance of making it, he dragged them to the playoffs because his fucking leadership. And you want me to tell me he was being negative? You mean to tell me he was the problem? No, Ty Lue, you're the problem. You're the problem. Lawrence Frank, you're the problem. Not Chris Paul. It's you. Do fucking better and be fucking for real.